Hey, you alright? Welcome to another video. If you haven't been here before, my name is Georgia Jo and this is my channel where I talk all things books. So today I'm going to be doing a little challenge, trying to read 100 pages every day for a week. So I'm trying to get rid of, or not rid, I'm trying to read the physical books that I've got at the moment. So I thought if I do these little challenges, then maybe I can get through like a few a week. And I feel like I'm not a very consistent reader, in the sense of I read a lot, but I'm not necessarily reading every day, and I'd like to get in the habit of making time to read every day. So I'm hoping if I do these kind of challenges, I'll get in that, you know, in like a routine and a bit of a rhythm of reading every day. So that's the plan. 100 pages a day for the week, so 700 pages hopefully by the end of the week, which will mean I could get a couple of books read. So yeah, let's just get into it. So I'm actually in the middle of 2 books at the moment, and I'd like to get them both finished in this video. So the first one is This Poison Heart by Kailyn Bayron. I really love Kailyn Bayron's writing, the ones that I've read so far. So I've read You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, which is a bit like a slasher film in a book form. I'm pretty sure it's YA though. I read Cinderella is Dead, which I really enjoyed, and then this will be my 3rd book by this author. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I am actually over halfway, and it's basically about Briseis, who is I would describe this book as magical realism, I guess, because she has powers where she can like manipulate plants, and plants sort of have they move with how she is feeling and they react to her, and she can't always control it. But no one else like in her life has powers. It's just they live in like a normal place, you know, in like the real world. So she was adopted when she was younger, so her 2 mums don't have the powers. So she's obviously growing up, and I'm pretty sure she's in high school, so she has these powers that she can't always control, and they're sort of she's getting more and more powerful, and she doesn't really know what to do with it. And then one day she gets told she has inherited this house, really old, massive house, from her biological family that she doesn't know anything about. I think it's her auntie that she doesn't know anything about her family, but she gets told she's inherited their house. It kind of leads on from there. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a bit of like a mystery, a bit like I say magical realism, because she doesn't know anything about like a birth mum or a birth family. It's like finding out what they were like, trying to figure out how she's going to control all these powers, where did they come from, why has only she got them, things like that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really, I'm pretty sure it'll come under YA, so it's quite easy to read, but it really keeps me like interested. So I definitely think I will get this finished fairly quickly. So I'm starting up on page 204, and in total the book has 370 pages. So this will be 100 pages for today, and then obviously I'll carry on reading it tomorrow. So yeah, let's just get into reading. Okay, so it is the next day, and I read my 100 pages yesterday, and I've actually finished this today. So I read 100 pages, and then there was, where did I start? Was it 204? So 304, and there was 370 in this book in total. So I've read 66 pages today, and I finished this. This was so good. I actually didn't realise when I started this that it was a duology. Well, I'm assuming it's only a duology because there's only 2 books out, and I think this one was out in 2021, and I want to say the next one was written in 2022, but I didn't realise they were connected. I knew there was another book, but I didn't realise they were in like the same series. So This Wicked Fate is the 2nd book. This was really good. I really enjoyed it. I actually started it quite a while ago and ended up putting it down, and I think I just got distracted with other books and didn't finish it. But I'm so glad I decided to pick it up again because it was really good. The ending, the way it ends, and it leads on to the next one. I can't wait to read the next one. I'm gonna order it and read it as soon as I can because it was so good. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to read the next one. So it's kind of like I said at the beginning in my like intro, it's like magical realism, but it's also got bits of like Greek mythology in there, and it's not sometimes I don't really like reading books about Greek mythology. I think it's often because I don't really understand it. I don't know a lot about it, and there's so many different names to remember when it comes to a lot of Greek mythology, so it just kind of goes over my head, I think, a lot of the time. But this, I think, is done really well, where it's not like too overwhelming, and there's also like a mystery involved, and like I say, there's her powers with the plants and how she can move them, and why is she the only one that's got them, and about her birth family and why she inherited this house. And it was just so good. I really enjoyed it. I can't, like I say, I can't wait to read the next one. I think the characters are so good and it's written like they're very sort of personable, like I was really rooting for them, you know, and I want to find out what's happening, and like I'm feeling the emotions that they're going through, and I just really recommend it. I really would recommend it. I think I'm gonna rate it 4.5 stars, and yeah, like I say, very much looking forward to reading the next one. So I finished this now, so it's 66 pages like I say, and I'm gonna carry on reading another book that I'm in the middle of, so I can try and clear this as well. I don't think I actually mentioned this in my intro, but the second book that I'm in the middle of is Fire and Heist by Sarah Beth Durst. So this book, let me check my Goodreads. This book I started a long time ago, I feel like months and months. Let's see when I actually started it. Okay, August 2024, so it's been nearly a year that I started this book. And again, I don't necessarily think it's that I wasn't enjoying it. I think I just put it down, got distracted with other books, and then kind of forgot about it and just never picked it up again. I think because you don't see anyone talking about it. I've never heard of this book before, so I don't know, I just didn't end up like finishing it. But I'm not quite as far into this one. Let's see what page I'm on. I'm on page 66. I don't really remember a lot of the first 66 pages, but what I do remember is it's about a family of dragon shifters, and there is a bit of a mystery again in this one with the main lead. So that the family is, pretty sure it was a girl and 3 lads and the dad, I'm pretty sure, and their mum sort of goes missing. Something happens with her mum, she goes missing, and it's all a bit, it's like the dragon family that they're in have kind of been shunned from the like dragon shifter world because of something that the mum's done, but they don't really understand like why, but it's like they get funny looks and people sort of don't treat them very nicely and things like that. And the main lead, I can't even remember her name now, Sky Hawkins. Sky is like, you know, lost all her friends because they all have sort of turned their back on her, and just her life has been completely turned upside down because of something that her mum's done. So the blurb says, leading your first heist is a major milestone in Sky Hawkins' family, even more so than learning to talk, walk or do long division. It's a chance to gain power and acceptance within society, but stealing her first treasure can be complicated, especially when you're a wyvern, a human capable of transforming into a dragon. Embarking on a life of crime is never easy, and Sky's mission uncovers deep secrets about the mother who recently went missing, the real reason her boyfriend broke up with her, and a valuable jewel that could restore her family's wealth and rank in their community. With a hand-picked crew by her side, Sky knows she has everything she needs to complete her first heist and get back to the people she loves in the process, but instead she ends up discovering a dark truth about were dragon society, a truth that is more valuable and dangerous than gold or jewels could ever be. So I think at the point I was reading it, she hadn't done any, like wasn't involved in any of the heists. I think her brothers had done some, but her brothers are older, and her dad was very much like, you're not getting involved, you're staying at home, I think. And then obviously she's had enough of that and goes and ends up trying to partake in a heist, gets her own team. So yeah, I'm looking forward to carrying it on. I think it's going to be one of those books that once I get into a few chapters, I'll start remembering what's happened and get back into the swing of things. So yeah, I'm going to carry on reading it now. So what page did I say? 66 I'm on. And did I say I read 66 pages? Yeah, because it was 204 to 304. And then to 378, yeah, so 66 pages. So it is a bit later on now, so I'm gonna get my, how many pages is it? 34 pages. I was about to do that on my calculator, but I can do that in my head realistically. 34 pages left to read tonight, and then like I said, I'll carry on reading it tomorrow, hopefully get it finished. So it's 290 pages, so if I read 34 today, that'll be 100 pages in total, and then the next 2 days we'll be finishing it. So yeah, let's carry on reading this, and I'll let you know probably tomorrow. Probably won't film after 34 pages. I'll film after I've read my 100 tomorrow as well, probably. So yeah, let's just get to it. Okay, so it is the next day, or the next night actually. It is currently 6 minutes past 9, so I'm getting nice and cozy in bed, but I am still reading Fire and Heist. So I read my pages yesterday. I think it was about 34, I think it was 34 pages I had to read yesterday, so I did get that read, and then which took me to page 100 in this book. And then I'd be reading today, and I've actually already read my 100 pages now. I'm on page 220, but I'm really quite enjoying it, so I'm still going to sit here and read, I think, for another like half hour before I go to sleep, and just see where I get. I'm not going to finish it, I don't think, but I'll just see where I get. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I think the first maybe 100 pages or so were a little bit slow. I do understand that it's only a standalone book, so, and it's not very big, and they have to, like, you know, set the scene. You have to be introduced to all the characters, you need to be introduced to the world, understand the sort of magic system or the lore behind the dragons or the wyverns. So I understand all that, and I think the first 100 pages was doing that. It was a lot of setting the scene, a lot of introducing the world and things like that, and the backstory of the characters. And I definitely, now that I've carried on reading it, I think without those 100 pages, it would, I wouldn't feel as bothered about the story, I don't think, because I wouldn't know all the backstory and the reasons behind what the characters are doing. I think this next bit then, I wouldn't be as invested, you know, because I haven't got to know the characters enough. So I totally think the 100 pages were necessary, the first 100 pages were necessary, but it did feel a little bit slow. It did take a while to get into it, and then I want to say around the 100 page mark is when then like the actual heist part of the story begins, like gets going, like the planning and the finding a crew and, you know, figuring out what they need to do and whose job is what and things like that. So I really enjoyed that, and then following on the story from there through the planning of the heist and, like I say, finding people for it and the heist itself, which is not a spoiler because the book's literally got a fire and heist, so you know there's a heist involved. So yeah, I'm really quite enjoying it. I'm definitely going to sit here and read some more. I probably won't get that much more read, although I don't know how many pages are actually in the book in total. I can't imagine there's that many left. Okay, so we're on, oh no, that looks like acknowledgements. Yeah, so there's 290 in total, so I've got about 70 pages left to go. So I'll just see what I read today. So I've already read 120 pages today, so I've already ticked off my 100, but I think I am still going to reset it to reading 100 tomorrow, because this challenge was about like trying to be consistent with my reading, and I do think I am a bit of a binge reader. Like I can spend some days where I sit and read for like hours and hours and hours and finish a book maybe, but then I might not read them for like 3 days, whereas I want to get into a habit of reading every day, you know. So I'm still going to reset it to 100 tomorrow no matter what I read today, but at least I have ticked off my at least 100 pages today. So yeah, let me stop blabbering on with myself. I'll carry on reading now, see what we get up to tomorrow, and then finish this book and start a new one. I'm not really sure what I want to read. I have got a couple of books that I'm in the middle of which I kind of forgot about, because these two, like the Poison Heart and this one, were on my radar to finish in this video. But I'm in the middle of Sunbringer. I can't think of the author for that. Is it Hannah Kaner? It's the second one in a trilogy. I'm in the middle of that, but I just don't feel like I'm in the mood for it. And then I'm also in the middle of Want by Gillian Anderson, but that's like a non-fiction book, and I've heard someone say that that book's best read like reading a chapter, or not, it's not a chapter, it's anonymous letters from women, but reading it like now and then rather than binge reading the whole book. So yeah, I think they're the only two I'm in the middle of. I am in the middle of Little Women, but that is again one that I'll just be reading when I feel like it, because I just think a classic you can't like force yourself to read, you know. Let me have a look on Goodreads, see what else I'm in the middle of. Oh, and I'm in the middle of Close Protection by Eden Victoria. I was listening to that book and I think I'm honestly about 60% of the way through, so maybe we'll finish that tomorrow. That might be a good one to finish, and then I can get at least 3 books finished. What day are we on? So we read, did we have 2 days of reading Poison Heart and 2 days of reading this? Is this day 4 or day 3? I actually can't remember. I'm not sure what day we're on, but like I say, let me stop going on with myself. I'm gonna sit and read, and then we'll figure out tomorrow's book tomorrow. Good morning. So I finished Fire and Heist. I actually ended up finishing it last night, so I think I read nearly 200 pages yesterday finishing this book. I really enjoyed this. I think it was just a really fun, easy to read heist book about dragons, wyverns, the sort of dynamics between humans, dragons. There was like half dragons, half humans. Yeah, it was just like a bit of fun. I really enjoyed it. I do think, like I said yesterday, the start of it was a little bit slow. The ending I really enjoyed. I think when I'm reading books, I'm not necessarily thinking about the plot, you know. I'm just enjoying the book. I'm not trying to work things out as I go along. But I think when things were happening, I do think if you are the kind of person that is trying to figure stuff out as you're reading, you know, there's nothing too complicated with it. I think you're probably going to figure it out as it goes along. But I was just enjoying it. I was having a good time. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the heist. I enjoyed the little twists and turns and the sort of world that was built. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it. I think it's just a really nice, easy fantasy book to read. Yeah, would recommend it for sure. I think I'm going to give it 3 stars because it just did the job it was meant to do. And like I say, I did enjoy it. So yeah, that was Fire and Heist by Sarah Beth Durst. And then my battery's about to run out on this, but I've decided I'm going to finish Close Protection by Eden Victoria next. So I'm currently on page 259, and I think there's over 359. Yeah, I think there's about 390-ish books in pages in it. So I'm going to get my 100 pages of this read today and see where we're at, but I'll have to leave it there because my battery's about to run out. I have just finished Close Protection by Eden Victoria. So I read 100 pages of it yesterday and then carried it on today. I think there was about 30 pages left that I read today. It's not my favourite book I've ever read, or my favourite romance book I've ever read. So you're basically following Daphne, who is the daughter of like a millionaire or billionaire or something like that, a CEO of like a big company, and then you're following Milosh, who is the male lead, who gets hired to be her bodyguard, and there's like people trying to attack her and attack her family and stuff like that. So he's there to be the close protection bodyguard basically, just for Daphne. Now my issue is that Daphne at the start of the book is 17 and Milosh is 19, so it's not like a big age gap or anything, but it's just the fact that she's only 17 and not 18, you know. If it was like 18 and 20, I feel like that would be a bit better. But I have seen that the author, she is a TikToker, Eden Victoria, and I saw that she said something about how the publishers wanted it to be YA, and I think they have to be below 18 for it to class as YA or something like that. So that's the reason why she's 17 and not 18, but I do think it makes a big difference with the story, you know. So yeah, it is a shame that she got forced to change the character's age, but I do think that was wrong to do that from the publishers, because it's just a little bit icky, isn't it, the fact that she's 17 and he's 19. And I think sometimes Daphne comes across as like a really young, naive, like 17-year-old, and then other times she comes across where she's like, she could easily be mid-20s. I feel like you forget she's 17 in the middle of the book, because it gets mentioned at the start and then it gets mentioned again about 60-70% of the way through, so you kind of forget that she's only 17 because she doesn't act like it. She's not a typical 17-year-old, which I guess you can kind of expect. Like, she comes from a lot of money, she's not having a regular 17-year-old, the average 17-year-old's experience. So I kind of get that, but yeah, I think it was just, she, at any point it could have said she was between like 17 and 25 and it would have made sense, you know. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like there is a big difference between a 17-year-old and a 25-year-old. But with this, you could have been told she was any age in that gap and it would have made sense. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense, but I know what I'm trying to say. I also think with Milosh, I'm pretty sure he was 19 and he has done all these things, like been in the army, I think he was in. And then he sort of excelled really quickly, but I just think that's kind of unrealistic. I feel, I don't know, because I don't really know how the military works, but I just think that seems very unrealistic. That it mentions a couple of times how he was a bodyguard for these really important people and he saved a life a few times and things like that, and I just think, would they allow a 19-year-old to do that? Do you know what I mean? I just don't know. I understand it's fiction, obviously, so it doesn't all have to be realistic, but I just think it's just not believable, you know, with the story that he would only be 19, which is why I think it would have made more sense if he was like 26 or something and she was 24. That would have made more sense with the story, I feel. But yeah, I also think he was hired to be a close protection officer, but she's constantly getting attacked. She's constantly having things happen to her, having to like defend herself or be the damsel in distress, and he's nowhere to be seen. So I just think he wasn't really actually that good at being a close protection officer. Obviously, you know, he saved her and he saved these other people in his previous job and things like that, but she's getting attacked so much. Like, why is that happening to her if she's got her own personal bodyguard, you know? So yeah, there's just a lot of flaws with the story, I feel. When it comes to the romance between them, like itself, it was very insta-lovey, and I'm just not a fan of that. I want the like slow burn, the tension, the sort of yearning. It was just very like they saw each other and they were attracted to each other, and it just kind of escalated really quickly, and like I say, very insta-lovey. And I know some people really like that, but yeah, it's just not my thing. So I think overall I'm gonna give it 2 stars because there's nothing massively wrong with it, but it's just not really for me. I think I've read other bodyguard romances before that I've enjoyed a lot more. So yeah, I'm going to give it 2 stars. Wasn't really for me, but I can understand why people would enjoy it. There's just, I guess, the tropes and the stuff in there that's just not my cup of tea. So yeah, that was Close Protection by Eden Victoria. So like I say, I actually started to write it down, the page numbers that I've read, because I just kept forgetting what day we were on. So we're on day 5 now. So I read 31 pages of Close Protection today, and I've decided I'm going to read All the Other Mothers Hate Me next. So this is a fairly new release, and I have like a book club that I do with my sisters and my mum, and we actually had The Women as our book club read by Kristen Hannah, which I gave 5 stars. Really enjoyed that book, but one of my sisters and my mum haven't read it yet, whereas my other sister and me have read it. So we decided we were going to read this one whilst we wait for them to read The Women. So I thought this would be a good time to pick it up when I got to read it, you know, for a reason anyway. I'm going to choose this one. I don't really know what it's about. My other sister chose it. I don't even know what genre it is, to be honest. It says, Florence knows all about failure. After a dismal end to her 2000s girl band career, she's moping around West London, single, broken, unfulfilled. The only things she's proud of are her increasingly elaborate nail art choices and her 10-year-old son Dylan. But when Alfie Risby, Dylan's bitter class rival and the child heir to a frozen foods empire mysteriously vanishes on a school trip, Dylan becomes a prime suspect. How can a 10-year-old be a prime? Well, I guess we have seen that happen, but it'd be interesting to see how that sort of comes about. Florence has to get her act together, find the missing boy and clear her son's name or risk losing him forever. The only problem, she doesn't have any detective skills, she's not exactly popular at the school gates, and she's just found Alfie's backpack hidden under Dylan's bed. All the Other Mothers Hate Me is an irresistibly witty novel about fitting in, starting over, and the lengths we'll go to for the people we love. Okay, I actually think I might enjoy this, to be honest. It sounds like it's going to be my cup of tea. So yeah, I'm going to read this one next. So we're on day 5, so we've got the rest of today, day 6 and day 7. So let me see how many pages are in this book. See if we can get it finished. I mean, I'll probably just finish it either way. Let's have a look. Chapter 51, acknowledgements. So there's 311 pages, so I think I've got 79 pages to read today, but maybe I'll just get 100 read of this and then read 100 in the next 2 days as well. We'll see, I don't know, but yeah, let's get reading this one next. So I didn't actually end up filming anything yesterday, but I have now finished all the Other Mothers Hate Me, and it wasn't really for me, this book, I'll be honest. It wasn't for me. So it's basically about a little boy called Alfie who is on a school trip with all his classmates, and he ends up going missing. And it's following Dylan, who is one of Alfie's classmates, but they didn't really get on. And it's following Dylan's mum, who is called Florence. And it's following her because she suspects, or she sort of has a feeling that Dylan's involved in it, because the two kids don't get on. But she wants to try and obviously keep Dylan out of prison, and, you know, tries to figure out what's happened to Alfie to try and get Dylan off the hook. So it's following them, and I think the storyline, like the plot, I did want to know sort of what happened. I wanted to know where the boy was, you know, was he alive, had he been kidnapped, has he been killed, what happened to him, was Dylan involved, the other little boy, like what happened. And so I definitely think it kept me, I wouldn't necessarily say I was invested in it, because I think if someone just told me the ending, I wouldn't have been bothered, you know. I didn't feel like I had to read all of it. I think you could tell when they were trying to make certain characters come across as suspicious so that you think it's them. And I feel like once you can tell that, you know it's not going to be them, right? Because it's like almost too suspicious, so you know it's not. It's the obvious answer, so it's not going to be that, you know. So yeah, I think the storyline, I definitely wanted to know what happened, but I think if someone had told me, I wouldn't, like I say, I wouldn't have been bothered. But I think the female lead, Florence, I think her character kind of is what lets this book down, because she is so annoying. She's so like infuriating. She just uses people for like her own gain. She's super judgmental about people. Like, she's constantly calling people weird or strange, and she's like, her neighbour, she's sort of using him as like a backup plan. Like, he clearly has feelings for her, and she's like stringing him along almost, even though she knows she doesn't want to be with him, she doesn't like him like that. She's like using him just in case as like a backup plan, you know, if she turns however old and hasn't found someone. But he doesn't know that, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, she just is just really not, she's just annoying. She's just so annoying. Such an annoying, infuriating character. She like doesn't take responsibility for her own actions, and she doesn't like think things through, you know. You're trying to avoid your son going to prison, and you're not thinking this through, you're not being smart about it, you know. And I get it, like, all emotions are involved, and you know, you're just desperate and you're wanting to avoid things happening. But like, think it through, you know, this could be life or death. Like, it's just really selfish character, and not necessarily enjoyable to read, because you're reading the whole thing from her point of view. She's like narrating it, and she's just, yeah, she's just irritating, honestly. So I was always going to finish the book, because like I said, I did want to know what happened, but I think I'm going to give it 2.5 stars, because I think 3 stars, I think even like the, you know, what did end up happening in the conclusion, I was just a bit like, oh, do you know what I mean? I wasn't like, whoa, didn't see that happening, or that really kept me gripped, or I was just a bit like, oh, okay, finished it now, you know? Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. Nothing like, you know, there's nothing offensive, it's not like, nothing necessarily wrong with it, it just wasn't for me. I just didn't like the character, and I thought the storyline was just like, it was there, you know, it did its job, but I wasn't like really hooked. I think I wasn't really hooked because I didn't really care about the characters that much. Like, even outside of Florence, I just didn't really care about them. I just wanted to know how it ended because I'd already read, you know, 60% of it or whatever. So yeah, that was All the Other Mothers Hate Me by Sarah Harmon, and that is the end of today's video. I think actually I wrote it down, the pages that I ended up reading, so let's have a look. So on day 1 we had 100 pages of Poison Heart, and then day 2 we finished Poison Heart and also with 66 pages, and also read 34 pages of Fire and Heist. Then the next day we actually ended up, day 3, I ended up reading 190 pages of Fire and Heist. Then day 4 I read 100 pages of Close Protection, and then day 5 I finished Close Protection, that had 31 pages left, and I read 79 pages of All the Other Mothers Hate Me. Then the next day I read 100 pages of it, and then day 7 I actually finished it, and it was about 125 pages left, because it's 306 pages, this book, I think it was. So yeah, so I ended up finishing it, obviously, because I've just given you a roundup of it. So I did manage to get 100 pages read every day, which I'm really glad about, and I also got 4 books finished, 3 of which I was in the middle of, and then this one which I finished from start to finish. So yeah, that is the end of today's video. I quite enjoyed doing this challenge. I'm definitely going to try and do ones in the future. Maybe I'll do 200 pages next, or maybe 150 pages. I don't know, we'll see, but I'm definitely going to try and do more of these. So yeah, that is the end of today's video. I hope you did enjoy. If you did and you'd like to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. But other than that, I will see you in a bit.